All right, CNT120, Chapter 3 Lab, we're moving on to IPv6 addressing. Now, make sure you're saving your text file as you go here. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to minimize it just to clean up my screen. And you may even want to, if you haven't done so already, save your packet tracer file as you go. I'm going to save this one as maybe done or working, something like that. That way I know this is the one I'm working on. And every now and then you can hit the save button here so you don't lose your progress. All right, so on my network now, we're going to move on to doing layer 3, but IPv6. So I'm going to open the command prompt on the Harrisburg laptop and see what we have. Excuse me, Harrisburg laptop. I accidentally clicked the PC. There we go. So we're going to move over to the laptop. Get it yet? Mr. Brown, read your own directions, if you will. So Harrisburg laptop command prompt. If I do ipconfig, in Packet Tracer, it's just showing me IPv4 addressing. In real life, it actually does show you also IPv6. So for Packet Tracer, this is a special command in Packet Tracer. This is not a real command elsewhere. We're going to do IPv6 config. So IPv6 config. And that'll now show me the IPv6 configuration that we have here. And what we'll see is there is really no if there is an address here, there is actually none associated. If there would be, it might be an FE80 kind of thing. But in this case, I'm not seeing any, which is fine. We're going to take a look at the Philadelphia laptop and do the same thing. Let's go here, command prompt. We're going to do IPv6 config. And I'll see again here as well. There is no actually IPv6 address associated with this. If there would, in real life, it might be an FE80 kind of thing. So we are going to, on the Harrisburg laptop, set a static IPv6 address. Now, what we'll do, let me go to the laptop here again, Harrisburg laptop. I'm going to do a command prompt here, and I'm going to do ipconfig/all. And I want to take note of the MAC address. Hopefully you remember from our reading, there were two different ways we could set an IPv6 address. One is we can let it auto-configure and randomly assign the IP address for you, or we can build it ourselves using the last half of our MAC address, which is what we're going to do. We're going to build it using the last half of our MAC address. So I'm making note what that is, 70BA5A, and I have it right here, 70BA5A. We're going to use that for the second half of our IPv6 address. That's just a piece of information we need to gather and hold on to. The next thing we need is we need the gateway address. Well, the gateway address actually comes from the router we're attached to. So if I follow this up, we're attached to this router. If I hold the pointer over it, if I look next to the gigabit 00 line, as I go to the right over there, I'll see FD00A:A:A 202.16FF FE853501. That is actually the address of this port right here that we're connected to. So that is actually going to become the gateway address that we need in our configuration. If I look a little closer at that, I'll see that the first half of this, FD00A:A:A, is literally this network. Mr. Brown configured FD00A:A:A for here, A::B for here, and A::C for over here. So for this network, the first half is FD00A::A:A. That'll be the network. So we are going to use that as our network. We're going to use this tail end of our MAC address for the rest of our IP. And then we will need this gateway address to fulfill or complete our IPv6 addressing. So, with that in mind, let's go do it. So here's my Harrisburg laptop, IP configuration. This time we need the IPv6 part. And here we are going to use, again, FD00A::A:A for the network. We're using the second half of the MAC address, 70BA5A, to compile or make the following IP address. So I'm going to carefully copy this. This is the beauty of working in Packet Tracer. In the lab room, you have to physically type all these in. There is no copy-paste. So here, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come over here and I will paste it in. Now I have to be careful. If I have spaces on the end, if I have spaces on the front, that is going to really goof it up. So I got to make sure I don't have those. That is usually the culprit of a failed IP address. I'm then going to go 64 over here. I'm not going to do the link local, but I am going to need the gateway. Well, the gateway address was the router interface. So again, I'm going to carefully highlight this and copy. Make sure I don't have extra spaces or anything. None at the beginning over here, none at the end over here. And that should now be the IP address of my laptop. This is basically the subnet mask, the /64 that says this first half is network, the last half is host. And then here's the gateway. Here's the address of the router we are attached to. So I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to go right to my command prompt and do IPv6 config. Again, remember that's just a packet tracer command. That's not a real command. And here it is. Here is my IPv6 address I just assigned, and then there is that gateway address of the router that we are attached to. Woo! Really easy when we can copy paste. Mr. Brown's smiling and winking. Well, we're going to do this on the Philadelphia laptop as well. We're going to follow the same process. Over here on the Philadelphia laptop, if I do an ipconfig here, ipconfig, I can actually see, ipconfig/all. I can see the MAC address here, and I'm going to end up using the tail end to build my IP address. I'm then going to use, in this case, this router interface right here. And this one is the A001, it's on the top line up there, FD00A::C 201.64FF FE4C A001. That is actually going to be our gateway address for our PC, because that is the address of this router interface right there. So now that I've gathered my info on my Philadelphia laptop, I'm going to fill this one in. So let me scroll this over here, ipconfig, down here to IPv6 static. Here's the IPv6 address. Okay, remember FD00A::C is this network. Here's the tail end of the MAC address that we looked up. So this will be the IPv6 address. Okay, don't get extra spaces there. Don't copy the /64 because that'll be over here /64. I just need this here. No extra characters, no extra spaces. So copy, paste. Again, make sure there's no extra spaces, no extra characters. Here's the /64. And we need the gateway. This is the router interface that we are attached to. So carefully copy this into the gateway slot. Again, make sure you're leaving this link local address alone. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up my command prompt, IPv6 config. Remember that's a IPv6 config command. That's a packet tracer command, and here is the IP and the gateway. So there's how we apply an IPv6 address. And as I tell our 125 guys, we do a routing lab with this. I hate using the words easy and hard, but there really is nothing hard about this. It's just they are so tedious because they are so long and so many characters and so many opportunities to make typos and mistakes. So it is just tedious. All right, so coming down here, we're going to ping between the Harrisburg laptop and the Philly laptop. So we're going to be smart. From the Harrisburg laptop, we're going to ping the Philly laptop. So I'm going to go to the Philly laptop, and I'm going to copy this address so I don't have to type it in. So I'll copy that, and then I'll close it out. Then over here on my Harrisburg laptop, I'll open a command prompt. And in real life, the command really is ping -6. That's the real command in real life. But in Packet Tracer, we can actually just use the ping command. If I were doing this for real, it would be ping space -6, but Packet Tracer doesn't understand that. So we're just going to use the ping command, and I'm going to paste in the address of the Philadelphia laptop, and I'm looking for reply, and that's what I'm getting. Yay! If I don't get that, check for typos. Check for typos. You might need to scroll back here and recheck plugging in the IP address for the Philly laptop. and I might need to scroll up and recheck plugging in the IP address for the Harrisburg laptop. Just retrace your steps. Double check, make sure they're right, no extra spaces, no extra characters, and then come back down here and try this ping again. It happens. It happens to me. You know, we're human. We make mistakes. We make typos. So you might need to retrace your steps. Now that I have a successful ping from the Harrisburg to Philly, I am going to highlight this guy right here while I'm here. Copy. Open up my text file. And I'm going to put a note here. This is layer 3, IPv6. PV6. And I'm going to say this is Harrisburg laptop to Philly laptop ping, something of that nature, and paste it in. And then I'm going to repeat this going the other way. So while I'm here, my Phil Harrisburg laptop, I'm going to grab this IP, just copy it, and then over here on the Philadelphia laptop, I'm going to issue a ping and paste in the Harrisburg laptop address. Okay. Again, you can't do this in the lab room. You literally have to type these in yourself. So there's a bit of an advantage right in here in Packet Tracer. So we'll copy this, and I'm going to come over here and put a note that this is my Philly laptop to Harrisburg laptop ping, and I'll paste that in. There we go. One ping going one way works, so the other ping going the other way should work. If not, check for typos, check for typos, check for typos. Okay. Now that we've done that, we should see some sniffer data, sniffer packet data, and we'll go take a look. So since we have moved some traffic through, I'm going to go over here to our sniffer, and let's open that guy up. Let's scroll him over here. And I see some IPv6 segments down here, or packets down here. So I'm going to look at one of the last ICMP messages on the left over here. So maybe I'll do the second to last, kind of like that, and then maybe I'll look at the last one. And just like before, here's the Ethernet header. We already looked at MAC addresses, so we're going to move beyond that. Let's look at the IPv6 header now. Here's our source IP, and here's our destination IP. A lot larger fields because they're 128 bits. There's a lot of lines there. So this was coming from 90DA going to BA5A. And if I click the last one down here, I should see that flip-flop going from BA5A to 90DA. And again, if yours are in a slightly different order, as long as you look at 2 or 3 in a row, you should see these flip-flop. Okay, you should see those flip-flop. So while I'm here, let's gather this data too. So I'm going to do the IPv6 header source field. So I'll scroll down here. This is my packet sniffer portion for IPv6 header. And here's the source field. And then I'm going to grab the IPv6 destination field. So this one I'm going to use, I'll just use the last one down here. Here's the source IP. I'll highlight that and do copy. And then I'll come down here and do the destination field. Right click copy. And what we're going to see is all of ours are just flip-flopping between those two made up IPv6 addresses, the IPv6 addresses that we constructed. All right, so there we go. Now, with this one, we have actually set static IPv6 addresses, and we're going to leave them there. We're not actually going to set dynamic this time around. We don't have the DHCP server set up to hand out IPv6 dynamic addresses. So we're just going to leave the static there. So I'm going to close my sniffer. I'll just minimize my text file here. I'll save that, but minimize that. I'll save my packet tracer file so I don't lose my progress. And I'm just going to leave these IPv6 addresses there. I'm just going to leave them alone, and we'll just leave them here for future use. I'll save my progress here so far. When we come back in the next section, we'll be looking at our port numbers.